No one expected such a twist. The idea of Porsche joining Formula One had set the racing world buzzing with anticipation. Among several car makers showing interest, Porsche stood out not just for their name, but because they genuinely looked ready to take the plunge into F1's next chapter. All eyes were on the upcoming 2026 engine changes, which promised to reshape how teams compete. It wasn't just another regulation update, it was a rare reset button. For brands waiting on the sidelines, it opened a new door, one that Porsche seemed ready to walk through with full confidence. But just as things were heating up, something unexpected happened. Porsche's much-awaited deal with Red Bull collapsed. What looked like a sure thing suddenly slipped away, and the dream of Porsche returning to F1 started to fade. This wasn't a minor disagreement, it was a complete breakdown at a critical moment. Until mid-2022, the talks between the two companies had reached a serious point. Porsche was on the verge of buying a 50% stake in Red Bull Racing and its fast-growing engine division. Whispers from the industry suggested that this was more than just a business decision. It was a calculated move to align with one of the most successful and progressive teams in F1. If things had gone to plan, Porsche wouldn't just be joining the race, they'd be aiming straight for the front of the pack. But as the talks progressed, it became clear that both sides were heading toward a clash. Their long-term goals didn't match. Christian Horner, Red Bull's team boss, was firm about keeping complete control over how the team was run. That approach clashed directly with Porsche's vision, which leaned more towards a balanced, joint effort, instead of finding middle ground. The gap between their expectations only grew. The deeper the discussions went, the more obvious the tension became. Red Bull had a specific way of operating: quick, flexible, and completely independent. That mindset had played a big part in their success over the years. Porsche, on the other hand, was stepping in with the mindset of a heavyweight brand looking for a say in how things would run. Christian Horner had hinted many times that any collaboration would have to respect Red Bull's way of doing things, especially when it came to decision-making. At the core of this disagreement was control. Red Bull wanted to stay in charge of its direction, while Porsche aimed for a more equal setup, something that would allow them to influence key decisions. For Horner, the fear was clear. Bringing in a massive partner like Porsche could slow things down, bring in more red tape, and possibly disrupt a structure that already worked well for the team. By the time September 2022 arrived, it was clear that the deal was falling apart. Red Bull didn't waste time. They quickly shifted their focus and struck a deal with Ford for the upcoming 2026 season. That move effectively shut the door on Porsche's Formula One hopes. Even though Porsche initially said they were still open to other possibilities in F1, nothing solid ever followed. There were no fresh partnerships, no serious new talks. Slowly but surely, it became evident that Porsche's Formula One project had lost steam. Their once bold ambition to return to the sport was now just another headline fading from memory. And just like that, what began as a hopeful entry into the world's fastest sport turned into a quiet exit without a single lap being run. Porsche's interest in returning to Formula One didn't appear overnight. It was the result of years of careful planning, internal discussions, and long-term vision. Their involvement in shaping the future of the sport can be traced all the way back to 2017. That year, they became the first car maker outside F1 to join the FIA's technical group working on the next generation of power units. It was a quiet but clear move. Porsche wasn't just watching from the sidelines. They were trying to help define what the future of F1 engines would look like. The original plan was for these new engines to launch in 2021, but the timeline kept shifting, first to 2022, and eventually pushed further to 2026. Through all of this, Porsche stayed involved. They even came up with some bold suggestions, like introducing all-wheel drive systems and simplifying engine designs to make things easier for new brands to enter the sport. It was obvious they weren't just testing the waters. They were trying to make the pool more welcoming for themselves and others. But when the moment came to truly commit, Porsche hesitated. One of the big reasons was the FIA's decision to freeze existing engine development from 2022 onward. Instead of focusing on engine innovation, the spotlight shifted to aerodynamic updates aimed at making racing closer and more exciting. That shift reduced the appeal for Porsche, whose strength lies in engine engineering. Their momentum, which once looked strong, started slowing down. By the time August 2022 rolled around and the new 2026 rules were officially released, Porsche's energy had clearly dropped. What once looked like a confident march toward Formula One was now turning into a slow retreat. Much of Porsche's determination to rejoin Formula One could be credited to one man, Fritz Enzinger. As vice president of motorsport, he had been the driving force behind many of the brand's biggest racing decisions. Enzinger didn't just support the F1 project, he believed in it. Under his leadership, Porsche didn't just watch the sport. From a distance, they got involved in detailed talks. Especially with Red Bull, he saw Formula One not just as another racing series, but as the top platform to prove Porsche's engineering strength on a global stage. Enzinger's vision was bold. He wanted Porsche to compete not just for the sake of it, but to win. That meant entering with the right partner, the right setup, and at the right time. The talks with Red Bull were part of that calculated plan, but in December 2022, stepped down from his position. With his exit, something important left with him: the energy and focus that had pushed the Formula One project forward. Without Enzinger's leadership, the F1 effort started to lose its direction. The team of people who had been working behind the scenes on the project were gradually moved to other roles. There was no official statement at first, but inside the company, it was clear that priorities were shifting. What once looked like a top-level plan slowly faded into silence. Formula One began slipping off Porsche's internal roadmap. Without anyone at the top pushing for it, the spark was gone. The passion that had once fueled serious talks and high-level meetings now felt distant. The momentum that had taken years to build was fading quietly but steadily. Eventually, Porsche put an official end to the speculation. In a clear and final announcement, the company confirmed that it would not be entering Formula One. This statement came from Thomas Lautenbach, the head of Porsche Motorsport, and it left no space for second-guessing. After months of rumors, shifting possibilities, and behind-closed-doors meetings, Porsche had decided to close the book on its Formula One plans. This wasn't just a quick decision made overnight. It followed a long series of events filled with rising expectations and difficult compromises. The failed attempt to join forces with Red Bull was the biggest moment in that story, a moment that had once looked like Porsche's golden ticket to the F1 grid. But as time passed, and no alternative projects came up, it was clear that the company was stepping away entirely. Even though some fans still hoped that Porsche might find a new path into the sport, the reality was different. The excitement had faded, the urgency was gone, and with no visible signs of new plans, the F1 dream slowly disappeared from Porsche's future plans. Still, this short-lived attempt added another chapter to the company's racing legacy. Porsche last appeared in Formula One over 30 years ago, in the early 1990s, when they supplied engines to the footwork team, but it was the mid-1980s that truly defined their mark in the sport. Back then, McLaren dominated the grid using engines built by Porsche, leading to 3 consecutive championship wins. That era is still remembered as one of the proudest periods in Porsche's motorsport history. Many fans believed that a return to Formula One could spark a new era of success, but things turned out differently. Despite the proud memories and clear capabilities, Porsche's attempt to step back into Formula One didn't reach the finish line. Their move to join hands with Red Bull, a team that's consistently been at the front of the pack, was bold. But bold isn't always enough. What Porsche underestimated was how crucial control and independence are in this high-pressure world. Red Bull wasn't willing to hand over the keys, and Porsche wasn't willing to take a back seat. In contrast, another manufacturer, Audi, chose a slower but more stable route. By gradually building a connection with Sauber, they managed to form a partnership where both sides could grow together. Porsche's faster, more aggressive approach didn't leave much space for compromise, and in a sport where long-term alignment matters, that proved to be a costly decision. It's worth noting that this period in F1 is unusually open for newcomers, with cost caps to limit spending, simpler engine rules for 2026, and a strong global push towards sustainability. The sport has never looked more inviting for car makers. It's the kind of environment where a brand like Porsche could have found a solid footing, but in the end, they chose to walk away. Instead of Formula One, Porsche has decided to keep its focus on other racing platforms. They remain fully committed to the World Endurance Championship, the IMSA Sports Car Series, and Formula E. These platforms still offer strong competition and technical challenges, and they align better with Porsche's current goals and resources. So, with one firm statement, Porsche has shut the door on its return to Formula One, at least for now. It brings an end to years of speculation, planning, and high-stakes talks. Whether that was a missed opportunity or a smart business call depends on who you ask, but one thing's certain: while Formula One moves forward with fresh faces and new chapters, Porsche will continue racing, but on a different track.